Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of American Scouser podcast. Today, I have with me Hooch, and we also have our newest contributor, Richard Lunt, with us. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hi.
Yeah,
Uh, Now a lot better, I guess. A bit more relaxed than I was maybe like 3, 4 hours ago. So let's get to the game right away. I think that's going to be our main focus today as we get ready for the international break. But so, what did you guys think of the game overall? Tough weekends in a good note, really. 3 games, 3 wins. None of them easy. All of them a tad stressful. But I mean, I think at this point, in this point of the season, I think we can kind of expect them all to be tough. So we'll start with you, Tim. I mean, what was your initial reaction aside from relief after the game?
um, I just think it was a solid 3 points gained. There was always going to be a letdown after you have that emotional victory, in Munich in front of 60,000 people, and you have to play Fulham, who's second from the bottom, probably going to get relegated. The ground's not that big. There's a flat atmosphere, really. But it says 3 points gained. Every point at this point of the season is crucial. We didn't play our best, and I think it was better that maybe Van Dijk and Allison had a blunder against Fulham. You're able to come back from it a lot easier had it been, say, from Tottenham or against Chelsea coming up. But you just have to take the points as you can and keep the pressure on City. Their win. They're still playing on 4 fronts, so their squad's going to be stretched out coming down the stretch. So just you got to keep the points coming and keep the pressure on City moving forward.
What'd you think, Richard?
I agree with most of what's being said there, if not all of it. Just to add the three big games. Every game's a big game now. I mean, obviously, Burnley is not a big game usually, but when you're coming into a run-in for a title, every game becomes a big game. So the thing that stood out for me in those 3 games was, although we conceded goals, I didn't feel like we were not ever in control of the game. I feel against, no offense to Fulham, but against two teams that could have done something against us, especially Bayern Munich, I felt like we only created our own downfall for the goals, and most of the time we were in complete control. And if that continues to the end of the season, I can't see us dropping many points. Obviously, there are tougher tasks ahead, but I just think we're playing in a way now where, and I keep using this word control, but that's what strikes me. I'd say, like, over those 3 games, there's probably about 5 minutes of the whole of those 3 games where we're not in control of the games.
I think, having said that, I'm glad you brought that up because I do agree. I mean, even today, it felt like it was our game, right? I mean, you're watching the game. I mean, aside from being a fan, if you were watching other 2 teams that you're not related to playing, you would think, well, there's no way these guys are losing. They just have the control of the game. I think my main concern is it feels like we can never kind of take advantage of that control or turn it into goals or extend in the lead. I mean, I just like posted, like the talking points for the game for today. And I think that kind of creates the goal differential we always talk about with City, whereas it feels like they
Mm.
have, I mean, obviously they're big on possession. So when they have the ball, it feels like they keep going. They keep going until they cannot score anymore. I mean, it's just kind of like a lot more methodical. Whereas it feels like when we take the lead, we're more focused on, and I'm assuming it's because of the pains of the past where we would give away leads from 2-0 and stuff like that with our shaky defense. But it feels like we're more focused on keeping the control of the game as opposed to extending the lead. Is that just me? It's just like as you watch this team, it's totally different than last year's team where it felt like maybe we didn't have this possession and the full control you talk about. As you watch the game, you can almost like feel it, but it felt like we were more going at the opposition than we do now.
No, I tend to agree. But I think it's like that balance where we played for 3 seasons under Klopp, just balls to the wall, attacking football all the time, and we would get burned. So I think maybe if we hadn't seen that previously of that, we'd have a different view of how they play now. think like it was today at halftime. They were talking about how like Liverpool they played more of a laid back game, more in control and more in possession, where they need to attack, and get goals to put the game away. But last year they were saying the problem was all we did was attack, and couldn't see games out. So I think to win championships, though, you kind of have to play a more like how you're like more controlled possession. But I think Mo needs to start scoring more. I mean, if he converts on a couple of his shots he had, we're getting the opportunities. It's just they're not going in at the moment. So the games seem closer than what they really are. I think another issue is inside the opponent's box. We're so talented on the attack that Bobby, Mo, Saudio, whoever, they're afraid, I think, to take on a shot themselves, set the other guy up. They have to be a little bit more greedy, I think, with their chances. Instead of always trying to make the perfect touch, the perfect play, maybe you take a shot from right outside the box and just something like that. You get a deflection, put more balls on net, and you can get a deflection off the keeper if he has to punch it away, or you get a ball off the post, it comes back out. I think they just have to be a little bit more focused on the shooting when they have the opportunities instead of always trying to make the perfect pass and making sure everybody's happy.
Mm.
What's your take, Richard?
Again, I would agree. I think obviously Salah, he's got it in his head. He's desperate for this 50 goals. He's missing chances that he wouldn't miss. He's making bad decisions. I heard Carragher today in the commentary, and he referred to him as selfish, and I don't think that's fair. I don't think he's selfish. I think he's just making the wrong decisions because he's trying too hard. And I think once he gets that off his back, with the form that Mane's in, I mean, I can't see any reason why Mane won't keep this up till the end of the season. He's been fantastic all season. If you can get Salah going the same, Firmino, he's going to keep doing what he does. It's the best front three in the league, and we've conceded 18 goals all season. People don't like it. It's not flashy. It's not heavy metal football, but it doesn't matter what sport you're talking about. Defense wins titles, to use the American analogy of defense instead of defense. And I personally would take this team. Last time we were in a title race with City, 2013-14, we were playing mind-blowing football. We were quite comfortably the best attacking team in the league. City may have ended up scoring more goals, but that was more down to mental errors. The way we were blowing teams apart. I mean, people still talk about when we absolutely decimated Arsenal at Anfield within 20 minutes. That's all well and good, but you look at that back four, and I can't even remember how many goals they conceded, but I think at one point I probably would have been better in that back four than some of the players that we had. So if you're giving me a choice between this free-flowing football, the way we played then, and that defence, or this defence and just dialing it back a little bit, it's not as exciting. It's not hell for leather. Sometimes it's frustrating. We should probably go at some of what you call the lesser teams more. But I mean, can you really argue the position we're in? Would anyone realistically have expected us to be where we are now? That would be the be all and end all for me. And Klopp's either going to look like a genius at the end of the season, or he's going to look like someone who's done a good job, but maybe should have just pushed that a little bit harder. And if that's the worst position that we find ourselves in, if we keep playing the way we are, coming together as a team, working for each other, controlling games, I for one, whatever the outcome is, I won't be too disappointed.
And right, it's not like we're sitting back like how Mourinho was playing. We're not parking the bus and trying to squeak out 1-0 victories. We're still pressing. It's just like the goals just aren't as free flowing as they have been in the past. But I mean, we're still playing an entertaining brand of football. Like the goal today, the 1-2 man they had with Bobby, and he passed. I mean, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful goal. So it's not like we're just sitting back and trying to park the bus and squeak out these victories on the road. A couple more shots go in. We may put 3 or 4 past Fulham today, and it's a little bit of a different conversation. But there's still an enjoyable brand of football to watch as a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I just think it's a bit more of the focus is more on like keeping control of the game as opposed to extending the lead. Like we don't want to lose our shape defensively at all.
Yeah.
Push people forward. And it is what it is. If we got to win 1-0, we got to win 1-0. And I agree. I mean, you can't argue with the results, but on a day like today, and we've had a couple of days like this where it could have really cost us. It did not, but it could have really cost us in terms of us kind of like I taking it easy is probably not the right phrase because we're still, applying a lot of pressure in midfield and like the work rate is up there. It's just like in terms of the sense of urgency or the number of people we allow to push forward almost like stops once we get the lead, I feel like. But going back to what Tim was talking about, yeah, I mean, if Mo finishes a couple of those that Mo would finish normally, we are talking a total different game. And I think we're talking a total different last 10 games, probably. I mean, the Everton game comes to mind. There have been several games where, if we had last year's Mo, and it feels like it's just confidence, doesn't it? I mean, it's like, I wish the Burnley goal where, Firmino just like literally tapped it in. I wish that was Mo. It feels like that's all he needs. One goal, and that pressure is going to be off, and it's going to be back to him. He is just pressing a bit too much. Yeah, I agree with Richard. I don't think he's selfish. I think he's pressing a bit too much. It's almost been like a role reversal of Mane and Salah from last year, where everything Mane touches turns into gold the last 4 or 5 weeks. Yeah. Whereas Mo is still helping create. He has a ton of assists. I mean, today, helped with the penalty. But his touch is not there. And when he's pressing, it comes across as selfish sometimes.
No, I agree. If he was being selfish, like, I mean, he was huge defensively against Bayern on Wednesday. He was tracking back, helping Trent out. And I forget, it was halfway through the second half, maybe today. Fulham had a break in, it might have been off the corner, but I think 4 guys coming forward, and Mo from the other teams from Fulham's box tracked all the way back to play, the get defense. He broke up the play. If he was being selfish and wasn't putting in the effort, he would have never made that run to get back on defense to try to break that up. So I think you have to, the goals aren't going in, but you have to look at how you said he's creating chances, and he's still putting in a great work rate. He's not. He doesn't have the boo-boo face where he's, oh, woe is me, I can't score goals, so that's all I can do. He's still helping out on defense. He's still creating. He's still drawing guys to him, and that's a face for Saudi to do what he's doing currently.
Yeah, I mean, you stole me thunder a little bit there. That's exactly what I was going to say. But no, I mean, it's great to see that, other people can see that. And the opportunity that you're talking about, he tracked back about 80 yards to not only try and tackle the man in possession, but then he got alongside him and made sure that he couldn't lay the ball off, or made it difficult. And then when the ball went there, all right, he flew in again, trying too hard. If he'd have stood up as man, it would have been the more intelligent thing to do. But he was so desperate. He thought the shot was coming in. He dived in front of the player, and the player just, sucked the ball behind him. But it's these little things, these small mistakes. And defensively, you can account for it. You're not expecting Salah to, turn into Maldini or anything like that. For me, it's more about the fact that he's putting himself in these positions. He's working hard for the team, and it will come. It will come for him. There's no doubt about it. You don't have the amount of quality that he has, and continue not to score goals. It just needs, as you said, like just a tap in, just anything, like a deflected goal, whatever. He just needs that little upturn in luck, and then he's away to the races again.
Yeah, because I mean, I've seen in terms of like resting him and stuff. I don't think that's the issue. I think it's just a matter of confidence thing. And once the ball rolls in past that line, I feel like it's going to be the floodgates opening. I mean, the contribution he makes in terms of creating, taking people on, his movements. I mean, a huge part of Mane's success is Salah. Just like last year, a huge part of Salah's success was Mane. I mean, it's kind of like makes the defenders worry about 2 guys opposite sides of the field that can cause hell, and that makes it like a lot tough to defend. But I mean, yeah, he works his butt off. He won a ton of balls, and his movement and stuff like that. I mean, he has to be out there, kind of like play through it, and let's just hope he comes against, in a big game like the one coming up against Tottenham or something like that. He just breaks through that. And I almost feel like once he breaks through like that first game, if that goal comes in early, he would end up with like a hat trick or something like that. It's just like the sense that I get from it. But so talking about people who work their butt off, what did you guys think of Lallana? I mean, it feels like, man, that guy is like everywhere.
Yeah, it was another great effort for him. I'm happy to see he got the start. I don't know if it was Hendo being out, and I saw Shaqiri still has an issue with his back, so maybe it was due to lack of options. But the thing he's doing what he does. He's high energy, presses. It's just nice to see him battle back after almost a year and a half. It seems of injury. He just could never get out. And maybe he doesn't have the same quickness or as he did. Say when we first got him, and he didn't turn out to be the player we thought he might be. But he's another guy. He will run through a brick wall for the team if he has to. And really, you kind of need guys like that. He's not going to score you 20 goals a season, but you need players like that in support that'll make the runs, who'll do the running for the other guys, play defense, press, do all that the behind the scenes type stuff that really doesn't show up on a stat line. And he's just he's a professional. Like same thing about Millie and Rob. They're professional dudes who they just go and they know what their job is. They know what their capabilities are. And for Lallana to get a nice run of games like this, hopefully he can keep it going. I just hope for him that he can stay healthy, because I would hate to see him go down with like another like muscle injury, something non-contact. It seems like he's finally starting to get back in the squad. He's getting Klopp's trust. And he's really going to improve his work, I think, 7 matches ago plus Champions League. We're going to need him, especially to be able to play some of these minutes, especially if Kite is still out. Shaqiri's injured, Hendo's injured. We're going to step up and fill that spot. I hope for his sake, because he's everything he's asked of. So it's just nice for him. And players like that come through and they accomplish what he's doing right now. It's just nice to see. The team loves him. He's unbelievable worker. He presses, like I said, he does all that stuff, and it's just nice to see him finally get the opportunity, and I hope he continues to make the most of it.
Well, you mentioned Shaqiri there. So, Richard, let me ask you, is this guy really has a knock, or did he just hurt Klopp's feelings with something he did, and Klopp is not big on him anymore?
I mean, it's difficult to say. First of all, I'd like to say everything that Hooch just said there, spot on. Absolutely love Lallana. He's been unlucky with injuries and whatnot, but he's always given his best for Liverpool. Never have a bad word to say about him. Really talented player. More talented than people give him credit for. Amazing close control at times. He's, as I say, just been unlucky. When he first got to the team, we basically built a press around him and Firmino. That's how good he was. To answer your question in terms of Shaqiri, the answer is I don't know. What I would say is late on in season, when you're in the middle of a title race, especially when you're known to have such a good front three as we have, teams sit back a lot. And I would say that's kind of when Shaqiri should be at his most dangerous. If you give him space in between the defence and the midfield, that's where I like to see him. I think he's one of the more underrated passers of the ball we've got. But at the same time, I don't see him as someone who, if you're going to win a title based on teamwork and tracking back, and I'm not saying he's lazy. I know that's been levelled at him, and I don't think he's lazy. I just don't think it's his sort of first priority, if you like, to track back. Whereas Milner, he'll track back. Keita, he'll track back. He's got an engine for days. Oxlade-Chamberlain, very underrated in the defensive work he does. And Lallana, as we've said, he won't just trap back. He'll press all day. So I think the reason Shaqiri's not getting his look in at the moment is just simply because Lallana's better suited for what we need. Milner's better suited for what we need. Keita's probably better suited for what we need. And then you've got Oxlade-Chamberlain coming back. I didn't really fancy the signing of Shaqiri. I'll be honest. I think he's played well in games. He's surprised me. He's shown me things that I didn't necessarily knew that he had. But for me, I don't think he'll be a huge loss to this team. It's not like, Shaqiri's injured. Oh no, what are we going to do? Whereas if Milner goes down, Lallana goes down, even though you've got those backups, you're still like, well, I wish we'd have had him. Shaqiri's, he doesn't come into that conversation for me at the moment.
I think he was more of like for the price we signed him for, I was kind of pleased to see him sign. And, let's face it, he's won us some points, like the United game. And, that period there within a month, he was very effective and it was really money well spent. I think he was more of like a insurance, I guess, for like Mo and Mane. But I'm sure he knows, and we all knew that he would never be replacing one of them in the starting lineup. I think it was a way to, especially if we were in, if we stayed in the FA Cup and the EFL and stuff like that, it was somebody to play the wing that we did not have, so we don't have to, trot out Mane and Salah for every single game. But you see Divock coming in and playing left wing. I think that says a lot about where Shaqiri stands. And I agree with Richard. I think it is part of the deal is coming back. He just does not give that confidence to Klopp, I think, in terms of coming back and helping out Robertson if he's going to play on the left, or coming back and helping out Trent if he's going to play on the right. And in the center, he's not obviously a big dude, even though he's built like a tank. But I feel like, he's not going to be defensively as effective. So it kind of pushes him off. And I'm glad you brought up Ox, because that was going to be my next question to Tim. Once Ox is back, and he's supposed to be back after this international break 100%, do we not even see Shaqiri on the roster, on the bench anymore?
No, I think you'll still see Shaqiri on the bench. I think it might come down to if you're going to take somebody off, I think it's almost going to come down to Origi or Sturridge, because they're almost the same player. And like say Sturridge got in for the last 30 seconds. I think it was a time wasting. I get that, but it's almost like, what's even the point? Like, if you're not going to play him, like don't. It's almost an insult to somebody like Sturridge to bring him on for 30 seconds, just a time waste. I think you still need a player like Shaqiri, because he's not afraid to take on maybe one of those longer distance shots. He's great on free kick, set pieces. He can put the ball on a dime, whether he's going at goal or trying to play it in for somebody else. But yeah, I think Shaqiri will still make the bench, and I think you would either eliminate Sturridge or Origi, depending on the situation in the game. I don't think you need both of those guys. And if you're going to bring Origi in today, I think it was at the 75th or 80th minute, then if he's that guy, if Klopp has confidence in him, I think you stay with him, and then Sturridge just has to, I guess, ride it out. But yeah, you definitely, I think, keep Shaqiri on the bench just as that super sub, just that he can make something happen out of it. If you need a bicycle kick against United, next round of the Champions League, that's the guy you turn to bring on. But yeah, Shaqiri still makes the bench for me.
Yeah, I think in terms of Sturridge, especially, it would probably be Sturridge, I would think, over Divock, kind of like leaving the bench. I think he was about to come in if the game was still 1-1, but once we got that, the goal from the penalty kick, the risk was not needed anymore, so he stayed on the side. And yeah, like you said, he just came in for the last 30 seconds. But coming back to you, Richard, in terms of, let's say you have Shaqiri and Ox, do you keep Divock or do you keep Sturridge?
Oh, don't get me started on Daniel Sturridge. Feel free to prove me wrong, Daniel, and score the goal that wins us the league. But at the moment, for me, Daniel Sturridge is a waste of a shirt. He has been for a long time. He offers nothing when he comes onto the pitch. He's lazy. The last time, when we played Paris Saint-Germain at home, I was shocked because I saw Sturridge running around, clever movements, good passes, really putting in a shift. He started the game, and I thought, wow, if he can get back to even close to what he was as a footballer, then what an addition that would be to the squad. Unfortunately, it was a one-off. I think he just saw him a shop window, an opportunity maybe to prove that he still had it against the best. I've got no problem with that, but you've got to be as motivated for the rest of the season. And for whatever the reason is, it either comes down to he can't do it anymore, in which case fair enough. But personally, I believe it's an attitude problem, and Klopp can tell us that it's not all day long. But when you bring on a player for 20 minutes and he hardly moves, the proof is right in front of you. He scored that wonderful goal against Chelsea in a game, by the way, we should have had won by half time. We absolutely battered Chelsea. We got into them, we got behind them constantly. But people will remember Sturridge, and rightly so. It was a fantastic goal, and he deserves the plaudits for that. But it's not enough. A man of his ability, I hate to say it, but Makeda, I remember him scoring a goal for Man United that won them the league at our cost. Doesn't mean that Makeda had a great season. It means he scored a great goal. At the moment, Sturridge is someone who can score great goals, but doesn't do enough for Liverpool Football Club. And given the wage that he's on, I'll be quite happy to see him gone next season.
I agree. I mean, I think we're on the same page on that one. I think, obviously we never talked on the podcast before about it, but I feel like with Sturridge, it's more of an attitude issue than a capability. Obviously, he's not going to be as fast and as, he's, as his earlier years, but I mean, he was one of my favorite players then, and still love the guy. I mean, based on like what he's contributed over the years, but I feel like now he acts like too cool for school most of the time. And like that PSG game is a good example. I mean, he had like a brief period there where you kind of like got the feeling that, okay, he's got his head on right. He has the right attitude. He's going to try to earn his way in. But I feel like he has the impression that he deserves the spot and he doesn't have to earn it. And obviously we know that's not the Klopp way. And a lot of players have found that out. So let me ask you guys this. We'll start with you, Tim. Obviously, it's early, and I'm sure we'll have a few more podcasts before the game. But knowing Gomez and Ox could be 100% per Klopp, do you expect any changes in the starting lineup when we face Tottenham at Anfield?
No. I think based on Klopp's reputation, they could be 100% all they want, but I don't think he would just throw them, either one of them, into a starting.
Tim, you still with us?
Come.
I think we lost Tim. So, Richard, you're still with us, correct?
Yep.
So, okay, while we kind of like try to get Tim back online here, let's switch over to you. What do you think? I mean, we know what Klopp does. Normally, he's going to ease you in 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and stuff like that. Do you feel either of those guys, when do you think, or I should say, is the earliest they'll crack into the starting lineup?
I mean, I'm a fully paid up member of the Joel Matip fan club. I know he gets a lot of stick. I think recently he's actually been better than Van Dijk, which is saying something. I know Van Dijk's superb and all that, but Matip's not making any big errors. He's solid. I don't think he changed that. Don't get me wrong. I think Gomez is a more talented defender in terms of the pace he's got, and he's better on the ball. And there were times again this season where Gomez actually stood out next to Van Dijk, and even on a rare occasion had a better game. So, we know the ability that he's got, but as you said before, Klopp, it's not his style to rush people back in. I can't see any changes, especially not with Oxlade-Chamberlain. Personally, I wouldn't introduce Oxlade-Chamberlain until he's 100, like, no doubt whatsoever. Give him, if it's the last game of the season, then it's the last game of the season. So be it. Do you know what I mean? He's not the kind of player. He's not Firmino. He's not going to come back and play well, even though he's not 100%. He's a player who needs to be fit. Given his injury history, given how long it takes him to recover, and I'm not saying it's his fault. You know, people are different. There's different injuries. There's things that have happened that will take a longer time. But he's not a Bobby Firmino. He's not a player you can go, do you feel like you can give me an hour or whatever? Just keep it as it is. Everything's going fine. There was one point I wanted to make as well. I was looking at the statistics. You'll hear people say, oh, Liverpool can't lose a game. Man City are going to win every single game. Well, it's not true. Well, it's probably not true if we go by history. Last season, Man City finished the league with 100 points, a record points total. In their last 7 games, they lost to Man United and drew to Huddersfield, both at home. Nobody expected it. There are going to be twists and turns every season. Manchester United, the season that they beat us to the title, they drew to Arsenal. Unfortunately, so did we. We drew 4-4. Arshavin, Chelsea won the title, got 95 points. And they I can't remember what they did. They had eight draws and 1 loss. But they drew 3 out of their last 7. These are the best teams, or among the best teams to have ever won the Premier League. So if Manchester City go and win 8 league games in a row, then they deserve to win the Premier League. And if Liverpool go and win 7 in a row, then they deserve to win the Premier League. Personally, I can see both of us dropping points, and it's just going to be a matter of, obviously, who drops the least.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I agree. If City is going to win out, then I guess hats off to them, and they deserve the title, really. I think this, in terms of like looking at the rest of our fixtures, this one coming up is the one that I personally worry about the most, is against Tottenham. And I mean, the Chelsea game, having just watched Everton versus Chelsea, Chelsea is one of those teams that, if we get on them, I feel like we can handle them, especially at Anfield. But the Tottenham game, I think, is like the toughest fixture we have. And sometimes it's good and bad that it's after like an international break coming in. I know we're sending less players than we normally do. I know Mo is staying and stuff like that. But I think that's going to be huge because it puts even more pressure on City if we, kind of like jump over that hurdle. And the Old Trafford game is going to be tricky for them, regardless of, United's form. I know they just went out of the FA Cup and stuff like that, but they have the players to hurt City. They have the speed to be able to hurt City, by getting the ball behind them. So I'm really hoping. I think it's just kind of like odd that it turned out that both teams are playing their game in hand against United at Old Trafford. So we came away with a draw, and I almost hope. I mean, it's going to be painful to root for United, trust me. But I really hope that they're going to do us a favor on this one. That's probably their toughest away game. I mean, and then, with the relegation, Ian actually just put up a post on the blog that I was really in depth, I thought, regarding the relegation. And this week's results, puts the Burnley game, makes the Burnley game a lot more important. Obviously, the Cardiff games for both us and City a lot more important. Well, let me ask you this, because you're new to the podcast. Who is your? I mean, we can pretty much. I mean, we weighed Fulham away a few weeks ago, to be honest. But they had a mathematical chance, I guess, still. But I'm obviously Fulham and Huddersfield are pretty much gone. Who would you pick as the third person going down to Championship right now?
Oh, it's really difficult. I'm gonna hang myself here because I said Watford at the beginning of the season, and look at what they're doing. So I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing. At the beginning of the season, Watford had a poor season last season. They didn't make any signings, but what they did do is they changed the culture in the club, and obviously that's been enough. Um, I'd love it to be Everton, but that's not going to happen. I think Newcastle's safe, Bournemouth is safe, Palace are probably safe. I think it's, I think Brighton or Southampton. I don't know. No, well, I don't know. I've got this sneaky feeling that Cardiff are going to stay up, and yet I had Cardiff down. My three to go down were Huddersfield, Cardiff, and Watford. So I could end up just getting the one. But I don't know. I just feel like Cardiff will just grind it out. Like when I first looked at them, I thought they're not going to score enough goals, and they haven't, not even close. But the more it gets down to the end of the season, those 1-0 games where you can put 11 men behind the ball and just hope to stay in the league, that makes a real difference. And I think Burnley are good at it. I think Cardiff are good at it. Southampton might not be that great at doing that. I haven't really given you an answer. But this is the Premier League. This is the Premier League. You cannot. Who would have said that we'd struggle with Fulham today? I thought we were going to roll Fulham over. I really did. Respect to Fulham. They stayed in the game. I think we could have played better. I don't know. I will. I'll say Cardiff. I'll say Cardiff, and it stays the same. But there's a sneaky suspicion that Cardiff could stay up. But I'll go with the safe money. I'll say Cardiff. They're on 28 points. They've got a game in hand which can take them out of the relegation zone, which would be bad news for Burnley. But I just can't escape this nagging feeling I've got. I hate Neil Warnock with a passion. So he'll find a way just to despise, just to spite me. That's my prediction. Neil Warnock will stay in. I'm going to go with Southampton because I want Southampton to stay up. I like the football they play, but they've got a manager who isn't used to the Premier League, isn't used to what it's going to take for a relegation battle. Yeah, they've played some nice football. But yeah, no, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to say Southampton.
Really, I think in terms of just looking at the schedules, and I understand what you're saying in terms of it's very hard to call. But just looking at the schedules, I feel like Southampton will make it. They have some, easier games. Like they have Bournemouth at home, Huddersfield at home. You look at Cardiff's schedule, man, it's just deadly. I mean, they play Chelsea, they play City, they play us, they play United. And, that's 4 of your remaining 8 games. And I don't know. I mean, let's hope they get some points out of City. But I just don't see it happening. I mean, deep inside, I wish it would be Burnley because they are probably the most anti-football team that's out there where they just, their goal is to just bully you and not let you play instead of them playing football. So I think, if I wanted to if it was up to me, I would buy their ticket right now to the championship. They can go, just like
ahead of Cardiff
over there.
Ahead of Cardiff.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I'm saying, so you'd rather Burnley went down ahead of Cardiff because they're not exactly a footballing.
Like I say, if it was up to me, I would want Burnley to go. But at the end of the day, just looking at the schedules of the teams, like rest of the way, I just don't see Cardiff digging themselves out and staying. I mean, the game they have in hand is away to Brighton. That's actually a huge game for that. I would really think like Brighton would, want to win that and kind of like be done with the relegation talk altogether because they'll go all the way up to like 13th. But I mean, hey, you should give us a share and follow us because later this week we'll do our like Premier League recap podcast. Kind of we'll talk about relegation the top four talk is getting more and more interesting too. So we'll touch on that as well. So join us for that one. Any parting thoughts, Richard?
Just up the Reds. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. And just keep your nerve, Redmen. There's going to be some twists, there's going to be some turns, but, you know, it could finally be our time.
Yeah, I just hope, we just keep this going and everybody coming back. It's going to be like a fun finish to the end. And then we'll search the internet. Hopefully we'll find Tim out there somewhere after he got disconnected. But thank you for joining me, Richard. And thank you all for listening. Give us a share, give us a follow. And most importantly, give us some feedback in terms of like what you want to hear more about. Send us your questions so we can discuss on air here. Thanks a lot, and up the Reds. Let's go get this thing.